Oh boy, my favorite browser is changing again. I can't wait for Mozilla's new CEO to take over and do all these awesome plans. Anthony just took the reins, and he has made some bold statements that I'm sure all Firefox users are going to love, especially after all of the changes recently around the privacy of Firefox and how they're no longer guaranteeing it. And they deleted the call out about privacy in their terms about how they'll never sell your data, and then just so happened to put out a product that wraps Bright Data, one of the bigger data scraping platforms on the web. I'm sure that they're going to be all in on building around trust. Yeah. Every product we build must give people agency in how it works. Privacy, data use, and AI must be clear and understandable. Huh? Second, our business model must align with trust. We will grow through transparent monetization that people recognize and value. Cool. And then 3, Firefox will grow from a browser into a broader ecosystem of trusted software. Firefox will remain our anchor. It will evolve into a modern AI browser. Oh. This tweet blew up from Nix, and I understand why. People who use Firefox are very different from the people who want an AI browser. I know this because I am somewhere between the two. I don't want an AI browser, and I also don't want Firefox, but it means I understand both groups very well. And man, I feel like I'm the only person who's not surprised by this at all. There's a lot to talk about here, from the history of Firefox and how it raises money, why they exist still in the first place, how they're going to survive in the future, and most importantly, why the fuck is Mozilla adding AI to Firefox? If I learned anything in my years of researching and talking about browsers, is that the only way you make money in them is having Google pay you way too much for the default search engine. We're not being paid by Google for default anything, so we're going to take a quick word from today's sponsor instead. Recently, I've been trying to drive home a really important point in my videos. As smart as AI is, it's way smarter when you let it do the things it's good at, like writing code. If you expect an AI to magically parse through hundreds of tools and use them correctly to do complex tasks, you're kind of crazy. Even Anthropic and Cloudflare agree and are now showcasing how you can use MCP more effectively if you just write it as TypeScript that the model can generate and then run. But where are you going to run that code? It's not as simple as it seems. Setting up a safe sandbox that has all of the pieces that are necessary for an agent to write code is non-trivial, and getting that to scale well is nearly impossible without spending a ton of money, unless you check out today's sponsor, Daytona. I've been playing with their stuff a lot for my side projects recently, and it's honestly just unbelievable how far ahead they are. Let me just show you this code snippet from the homepage, because it describes how they work better than I ever could. You create a new Daytona instance, you create a sandbox by calling await Daytona.create with a language if you want to give it one. Now you can call code response by running await sandbox.process.code with some TypeScript code. And now you have a result. And if you want to execute things not inside of the language, but inside of like the bash terminal, you can do that too. Await sandbox.process.exec, an echo command. You can even change the working directory for it and give it a timeout, and now you have a response because it's a full native Linux instance running in the cloud that you can do whatever you want with. And you can hibernate it. You can wait for your agent to finish what it's doing. It doesn't matter. It handles it all really, really well, and it doesn't charge you a ton of money as they do it. One of the things they do uniquely well is their persistence of state. So if your agent needs to go think for a while, you're not stuck waiting with your CPU running. It can just hibernate and spin back up nearly instantaneously in literal milliseconds once the agent is ready to run things in your box again. And even if it was running constantly, it would barely matter because we're talking about 5 cents per hour of vCPU. This would all be super generous by itself, but the fact they're giving you another $200 of free compute on top of it makes it an unbelievable deal and just gets me excited to build things where agents can control computers. And not just controlling through the terminal, by the way. They've now introduced a full computer use sandbox for virtual desktops on Linux, Windows, and even macOS that you can control with code. Seriously, if you haven't tried something like Daytona, I highly recommend it. They're obviously my favorite, but the way it unlocks your brain for all the cool things you can do with agents is hard to squeeze into a 2-minute ad like this. Just trust me and go give them a shot now at soydev.link/Daytona. So in order to understand how we got here with Firefox, we need to go back a little bit. Okay, we need to go back more than this. If you're not familiar with this drama, this was in February of this year. Firefox made a change here where they specifically had in their FAQ section, does Firefox sell your personal data? And there was an answer of, nope, never have, never will. And we protect you from many of the advertisers who do. Firefox products are designed to protect your privacy. That's a promise. And this section was removed as a real commit. Kind of crazy, This was, publicly speaking, the beginning of the end of Firefox's perception, and I am proud to be one of the advocates leading the charge against the shit show that is the current Mozilla team. I feel a bit bad because I do have friends who work there, and I know how hard they work to make Firefox and other Mozilla products good, but they've also killed enough of the things I love. They've also acted weird enough publicly, and the ways that they waste their money are just insane. So let's go through a bit of history. How did Firefox get here? Firefox's start was from the ashes of the Netscape chaos. They wanted something that couldn't be beaten or taken away the same way, so they decided to go open source, and Firefox did great. There was a while where Firefox was the default browser everyone wanted to use because it was by far the best one. Not just the best for privacy or because it's open source, but because it was actually the best browser that followed standards the best, had the most functionality, and was the fastest and most reliable by a lot. It's actually crazy how far ahead Firefox was at the time. Firefox was so far ahead of other things that have coined a term for the long-term effect of it. I call it good faith debt. This is the thing that happens when a solution is genuinely so far ahead of the competition that is perceived as better for a long time, even when it no longer is. And Firefox is like the golden example of this. It was so far ahead that people still treat it like a good option, even though it hasn't been for years. Another great example of this is a project that I get flamed whenever I talk about, VLC. VLC is not only not a good video player, it is an actively bad and destructive one for various video formats and things that are even vaguely modern. VLC does not handle captions properly. It does not handle HDR really at all. It does not handle any modern video formats whatsoever. It does not let you bring your own codecs to modernize those things. And the reason is because there's a new version of VLC that was supposed to ship in 2021 that still hasn't, which means that the version that people download from the website is massively out of date and can't even play a video from an iPhone properly. Yes, really. But everybody still shills VLC because at the time, it was revolutionary having a single exe you could download and play almost every video file ever with it. That was so monumental, so absurd, so incredible that 10 years later, we still pretend VLC is good. The same thing happened to Firefox. By being 10 times better than everything else and open source and freely available and maintained it all, you end up with this huge positive perception around the thing that persists way beyond the relevance of the thing. And that's where we're at with Firefox. Because Firefox was so disgustingly far ahead of everything else, it got a lot of earned good faith that they've been slowly burning through since as they continue to let the browser fall apart. This isn't about the gradients thing that they finally fixed after I harassed them enough. This isn't about view transitions taking forever. This isn't even about the privacy thing. This is just the slow death of the browser, as well as the death of all the other things that have occurred around Mozilla, including Pocket, which is one of my favorite apps ever. They bought it, let it rot for 3 years, and then killed it. And I am still very upset about that. Regardless, you get the idea. The good faith debt thing is the key problem that has allowed Firefox to be perceived the way it is now, despite the fact that it's slowly been falling apart forever. And the way Mozilla runs their shit is questionable at best. But in order for them to do all of this, in order for them to exist, you know what? Let's do a thought experiment. How many employees do you think Mozilla has? Just pick a number. Get one in your head. We'll show what chat guesses, and then we'll go look at the actual answer. How many employees do you think Mozilla currently has? Hopefully you have a number in mind. Here's my chats. 1, 100, 250, 2,000, 200, 600... mostly in the hundreds, a few in the thousands. Around 2,000 employees. Mozilla is employing 2,000 people. And as you expect, chat immediately gets this. What the actual fuck? That's crazy. Now go look at their job titles. I'm scared too. So you would imagine they must have some designers amongst that, right? Well, they probably do. But Mozilla also loves to rebrand and redesign themselves every few years, and they spend a shitload of money whenever they do it. Oh, this is great. This came out before the AI slop writing was a big deal, but they still did it. Mozilla isn't just another tech company, M-. We're a global crew of activists, technologists, and builders, all working to keep the internet free, open, and accessible. They were way ahead of the curve with the M-AI slop openings. But here's where it gets fun. We've teamed up with global branding powerhouse Jones, Knowles, Ritchie, JKR, to revamp our brand and revitalize our intentions across our entire ecosystem. I'm going to ask T3 Chat what it thinks a redesign like this would cost. And so you guys don't accuse me of bias. I'm going to go ask ChatGPT as well. According to T3 Chat with Kimmy, with no search at all, just ballparking, said between 500K to 5 mil euros. Kind of funny it defaulted to euros. How much do you think? Same deal, asking ChatGPT. It'll probably do actual research. Significantly slower than T3 Chat was. Their estimates are between 2 mil and 15 mil, depending on what they did. And that's one of the redesigns that we've seen them do over at Mozilla. They've done a couple of these where they're spending millions of dollars to have a custom font made and a new logo that nobody likes. Yeah. So that's how they're spending their money. But where the fuck are they getting that money? How are they able to afford all of the costs for all of the things they run, all of the 2,000 employees, and all of the money that it takes to do a big redesign with a gigantic, really fancy firm like this? My chat's now concluded that this is money laundering, that they're just trying to move money to design agencies. And honestly, I understand why you would think that when you see all of these things. It's pretty nuts. That said, they are currently trying to hire for a staff UX designer for AI. The staff UX designer for AI investment specifically. Yeah. The point I'm trying to make here is that Mozilla loves Fire, not Firefox. They love Fire on money. Mozilla spends more time lighting money on Fire than they do on Firefox. This has been a habit of theirs for a long time now. But where does the money come from? Mozilla doesn't charge for Firefox, and they certainly weren't making much money on my $5 a month subscription to Pocket. Where's the money coming from? They make some amount from donations, but the majority comes from one particular deal. Google pays $500 million or more per year to keep Google the default search engine in Firefox. I don't think this is actually worth 500 mil to them, and I don't think that's why they're doing this. The reason that Google does this is because they need Firefox to stay alive in order for Chrome to not be an obvious destructive monopoly. Google benefits not just from Firefox existing, but importantly from Firefox being good. Because Google didn't make Chrome to win the web. They made Chrome because they were tired of maintaining shit desktop apps, and they wanted it to be easier for them to build web apps and have a good experience on computers. If Firefox was good enough and was adopting web standards fast enough, they would never have made Chrome. They were huge Firefox advocates at Google, but they wanted to keep pushing web standards forward, which is why they made Chrome. And they want Firefox to keep improving, which is why they fund Firefox. That said, the search engine thing is a really convenient angle for them to take with this. And it also does benefit them to have Google everywhere no matter what. Makes sense. This is a payment that passes my sniff tests. For contrast, Apple gets $3 billion plus a year for including Google search as the default on iOS. That one is much more Google trying to stay the default search engine than this one is, because Firefox users are much more likely to change their default search anyways. They're not getting 500 mil of value out of this, obviously. They're doing this to keep Firefox alive, which is why it is so absurd that they go and waste their money and just light it on fire with redesign after redesign, new font after new font, and employee after employee. What's really crazy is the browser I'm using right now, Zen, is an open source Firefox, not really fork because it's still very closely based on the original, but it's a combination of a fork, a pile of changes, a skin, and a few other things. I love Zen. It's a great browser. The team making it's great. The team is 2 kids. Same with Helium, the other default browser I use. I use Helium a ton because I need a Chromium base for a lot of the work I do. Also, just 2 kids building it. And these browsers are moving way faster, are improving way more frequently, and just are better experiences than what Mozilla is cooking with Firefox and their 2,000 fucking employees. Yeah. Absurdity. Actually absurd. If you're looking for a better browser from this video, if your goal is ultimate web support, privacy, and just a lot of taste and subtle care to things, I really like what's cooking over at Helium. But if you want something closer to Arc that has the fancy sidebars and all the cool features that make the UI good enough that I like using it in videos like I am here, Zen's UI is far and ahead the best in the field right now. Zen if you want a different way of thinking about the web, Helium if you wish Chromium sucked less. You get the idea. Back to where we were here. So Google is pissing money into Firefox, and Firefox and Mozilla are burning it on all sorts of shit that doesn't matter. But something else happened recently. End of last year, the Department of Justice started investigating Google's search monopoly. In particular, they had planned to not allow Google to keep funding exclusivity deals for search, where right now Google can pay a company like Apple or like Mozilla to default to their search engine. That was going to be made illegal because of monopolistic ruling. If you can just pay to stay the default, no one will ever compete with you. This would immediately kill Mozilla because it's the source of most of their funding. So as silly as this sounds, an attempt to make Google less monopolistic would actually have made them more monopolistic because it would have instantaneously just slaughtered Mozilla. And Mozilla begged to the court that they don't enforce this ruling because if they do, they die. That said, this also means Mozilla is now much more aware of their one source of cash potentially drying up, and they're much more scared of this potential as well. So they suddenly have to care a lot more, which they did by redesigning their entire brand platform for no fucking reason. Okay, to be fair, this happened around the same time, so it was probably being worked on way before. But I hope they stop doing this bullshit because this is just a money pit. So if they want some other way to make money, do you know what makes a lot of money in tech right now? Depends on who you ask, but if you ask people who don't know what's going on, they're going to say AI, and it seems like Mozilla is a company that is leading the industry and not knowing what the fuck is going on. AI is a bet they want to make. Firefox will remain our anchor and will evolve into a modern AI browser. Yeah. The reason they're doing this is they need some way to potentially still have income if the Google deal dries up, and hypothetically, they could actually make money from users if they find a way to charge them. Funny enough, my old search engine of choice, DuckDuckGo, kind of fell for the same thing because they're trying really hard to do no tracking, no ads, no sketchy shit in the browser when you're searching. And the way that they've chosen now to make more money is by pushing AI. Did they not have it on here anymore? Well, let's do a test search. There we go. Duck AI and their search assistant. They're trying really hard to get people to start using the AI at DuckDuckGo, so you'll start paying them. I don't know how well it's going for them because I've never seen anybody actually using it. Supposedly, they're an alternative to T3 Chat. Yeah. Is T3 Chat making real money? Yes. Is it making enough to sustain 2,000 fucking employees? Not even kind of. Not even close. We're off by multiple orders of magnitude. So yeah, that's not going to make them the money that they need. And I think they don't know that, which is why they're being so stupid. I also have the hot take that AI browsers aren't that useful. I have been trying to find use cases, both myself and amongst my friends. It is just rare that I have tasks on the web where pulling up a sidebar and saying, do this for me, makes any sense, even if they were faster. Like just yesterday, I had a friend who has never removed an address from their Amazon, and they had like 200 plus addresses in it. And there's no way to bulk remove. So you had to manually click remove, okay, wait for the page to reload. Remove, okay, wait for the page to reload. So we decided to try this with Atlas. And it got about a third of the way before it concluded that it was done. And each of those steps took like 20 seconds because it would do the step, wait, take a screenshot, process it, and do the next thing. Even if it didn't, even if the AI went from okay to perfect, that was the only use case I could think of, and it was still not really that useful. It is rare I find tasks that are on the web that really feel viable for this type of thing, especially when you consider the security risk that is inherent with these when you have prompt injection problems. When a page can hide text in a way I don't see it, but the AI does and parses it and could do something bad, that's not good. And if your service is shitty enough that AI automating it could make it a better experience, you should probably do that yourself rather than letting a browser do it worse. There just isn't much use case for AI in my browser directly, which is why the companies that bet on it the hardest, like the browser company, killed Arc in favor of Dia, their shit AI browser, ended up having to get bought by everyone's favorite company, Atlassian, so they could integrate with Jira. That's where this goes. That's where this ends up. And I'm afraid Firefox is going down that same path. I'll read a little more of what the new CEO had to say. Also, what was his role before? This is actually interesting. He was at Wayfair, the furniture site and store, for 7 years. Went on to Better, which was a mortgage product. Ended up at Roofstock as an advisor and also CPO for a while, which is some equity management company and rentals in particular. And now is at Mozilla, was SVP of Firefox as of December, right around the same time this stuff happened with the potential changes to Department of Justice rulings that would keep them from getting their previous money. He joined right after all that started, became general manager of Firefox, and is now CEO as of a few days ago. Very interesting path to take here. It also explains that weird job listing around investment UX. Seems like they're trying to find some way to take his history with financial advice and management stuff and tie that in. But it all seems like a Hail Mary play. Like, none of this seems particularly viable to save Firefox. Let's see what else he had to say. When I joined Mozilla, it was clear that trust was going to become the defining issue in technology, and the browser would be where the battle would play out. Bold statements considering the diff that I pulled up earlier. The promise that was deleted just a few months after you joined, sir. AI was already reshaping how people search, shop, and make decisions in ways that were hard to see and even harder to understand. I saw how easily people could lose their footing in experiences that feel personal but operate in ways that are anything but clear. And I knew this would become a defining issue, especially in the browser, where so many decisions are about privacy, data, and transparency now originate. As Mozilla moves forward, we will focus on becoming the trusted software company. This is not a slogan, it's a direction that guides how we build and how we grow. Sure. He is saying a lot of the right things, but then sneaks in the things nobody wants, like that. People trust our brand. Firefox brings us global reach. Our teams know how to build reliable, independent software at scale, and our business model puts the user first. There's no business model, sir. You're not making money. The business model is having enough users that Google pays you. That's it. We'll measure our progress against a double bottom line. Man, this guy really is an investor. Wild to use a line like that and then link a PDF. This is so corpo bullshit. Okay, I like the writing style though. When we created Mozilla Foundation in 2003, we committed to the public, parentheses, and to the IRS, that we would guard the open nature of the internet. This is our North Star. We need to do to AI what we did to the web, decentralizing control by making open source and open standards the norm, and then build popular and community-driven products that give people real agency and choice. Sure. Here's the double bottom line part. Mozilla measures its success of our investments against a double bottom line, our ability to advance our mission and succeed in the market. Over the next 3 years, we believe we need to focus our double bottom line measures on A, AI that advances the manifesto, and B, diversifying revenue away from search. They're literally saying it here. They are trying to make money in ways that aren't the Google search deal. So the bottom line, AI plus manifesto, 100% of their orgs will have at least one flagship AI offering actively advancing the manifesto and track the impact. So this isn't just like they're going to have some AI in some places. This is every single team at Mozilla is expected to have at least one flagship AI offering that is driving the success of the business. They are literally telling every single team at the company, go build AI. That's your job now. And the other goal is diversification of revenue, which is 20% year-over-year growth in non-search and non-Google revenue aggregated across the Mozilla portfolio. Literally calling out Google. Like, I'm not exaggerating when I say Google keeps this company afloat. They say it in their own docs. They are so close to dying without Google's money. And then there's their portfolio, because they have other investments in outside revenue and other things too. And they're hoping to get at least 24 mil from those other things. We can move the needle on these metrics. It'll be an indicator that we are building a more sustainable Mozilla, M-dash, and tracking towards our North Star. Seems like they're using AI for this, at least. Apparently, they have a hugging face now, too. Not much going on here of value. Will be interesting to see how that goes for them. Firefox and Thunderbird are respected products. I haven't heard the name Thunderbird in years. They also have $1.3 billion in the reserves because they've just gotten so much money from Google over the years. That's like 2.5 years of the Google payments. And Thunderbird's Android app is nice. It's a really funny thing to say because the Thunderbird Android app started separately outside of them. And it was purchased because it was open source. And the maintainer built a great app, sold it to them, and then fucked off. And now they're trying their best to maintain it. Oh, Thunderbird. And apparently their weaknesses, according to them, are the over-reliance on the search deal, which is 85% of their revenue is Google. 85% of the money they make is from the Google deal. That would kill them instantaneously if they lose it. Their other weaknesses are AI talent, limited pool of technical talent experience with AI and data. So they're going to hire more is what they're saying. They're going to spend even more money hiring more people. Then these people are going to be really, really in demand. I'm sure that's not going to be a money pit. And then execution. They have a mixed track record turning ideas into actions and into results. Slow. Yeah. And not just the browser, which is slow. Everything else too. Oh God, here's a fun one. Open source AI needs a Linux-like breakthrough for mainstream adoption. Mozilla could lead this shift and gain substantial market share by making open source AI the default developer choice. And here we have their strategy. Mozilla needs to do for AI what they did for the web. Pillar 1, developer platforms, open source in the AI era. And here their assets are their venture portfolio, which again seems like where a lot of their money is Mozilla had enough money to do investments, and they did those investments. They have some money as a result of those investments, and that's why the CEO is a guy who came from an investing fucking company. Do you see the pattern here? They are trying to turn money into more money, because if they don't, they're going to lose all their money very fast. They are a weird browser stapled on to this like super strange search deal plus venture capital firm. This is so weird. They're in such a strange position. I don't see a future for this. The next pillar is trusted AI experiences, the consumer products. And then pillar 3 is tech by and for everyone. Build public interest and sovereign tech built side by side with communities, philanthropists, and governments outside big tech hubs like Silicon Valley. God. And Mozilla Ventures, the other actual hope they kind of have. I wish them luck, I guess. I think it's pretty clear how doomed they are. I think my chat agrees that this is pretty bad. Again, if you're looking for a better browser, I'm in one right now, Zen. I have another one I like a lot, Helium. These two browsers are great. I highly recommend them. And if you want to know what Waco's stance is on this stuff, yeah. Perplexity paid Firefox for even more ad placements, and now they call it privacy focused on the App Store. I guess privacy is just a buzzword that means nothing to Mozilla. Yeah. I don't think Firefox is a good enough browser to be worth all this other bullshit. I really don't think Firefox is going to survive much longer. If you haven't made the move now, I hope this is enough incentive, because the people who like Firefox do not like the things happening now. If you're some person that happens to like all of this together, please leave a comment telling me such, because I don't know if this person is real or if they exist. I think Mozilla is imagining people at this point, which makes sense considering how they spend their money. I'm out. I have nothing left to say about this company. I really hope I never have to talk about them again, but there you go, guys. Have fun, and until next time, peace, nerds.